No Man's Sky has redeemed itself over the last 10 years of free updates. It may not be exactly what everyone wants, but it holds a high place in the industry. Base building, ship interiors, crafting, ship flight and combat, it's a good space game. But has it actually changed from the open sandbox you bounce off of in 2 weeks to something asking for your long-term commitment? It seems the team at Hello Games wants those weeks to turn into months, with an extended expedition releasing, splitting players into teams to go to war with a swarm of aliens. But will the game keep you engaged throughout the weeks this expedition takes place, and can you jump back in long term? Hello Games was kind enough to sponsor this video so I could jump in with some friends and give you a look at what's really available to you in game now. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. Jumping back into No Man's Sky is like putting on an old glove, if that glove was on fire. I knew I would need to put my ship back together, but I did not expect the planet I spawned on to be exploding. This may have been due to me spawning on a friend for this swarm expedition. Regardless, it was a high-octane reintroduction. But once I spent some time tunneling through the planet to find random caves to take shelter in so it wouldn't kill me, because you always need to waste a little bit of time doing those things first, I got through that usual grind of getting the right materials to craft my spaceship back to health. And I took my first trip up into space, only to encounter a new ominous, rather rude space station. As I approached it, it teleported away and I was attacked by a new group of aliens. This was the Swarm. By the time I had beaten them and truly freed myself to explore space as I wanted, I was partway through the first phase of No Man's Sky's latest update, known as an expedition. I was graciously onboarded into this quickly by some veteran friends, as these expeditions are generally meant for people with existing experience. So new players are going to find it to be a tougher first session. Starting at normal difficulty is definitely advised. The premise of the expedition is this. An evil entity is guiding a swarm to eradicate all players, and through answering some questions, all those players are being sorted onto 3 separate teams who can work together or at the expense of each other to defeat the threat. Think of it like a team-based event, kind of like Elite Dangerous Community Goals or Star Citizen's Resource Rush without the freight elevators. You will run through various phases of this event, consisting of gameplay that uses some of the more interesting features in the game. Most notably, the gravity gun added this year let me dismantle an alien vessel to learn how it works. Definitely getting my attention for some salvage gameplay later. The classic tunneling through planets also helped me get away from killer weather, which was necessary in the more harsh environments this event sends you to. It's still a universal lifesaver, as well as a means for digging to find buried enemy tech later on in this event. Of course, I also had to deal with ground and ship-based enemies in space that offered some new spectacle from a new faction. But for now, you can only play the first 3 phases of this expedition, with Phase 3 having you repeat 3 different missions to win the overall expedition long-term and become memorialized in No Man's Sky's history, with all efforts throughout the event being visible to all players through a public war board. And you'll get a lot of time to watch that board, as each mission is on an 8-hour cooldown, restricting you from actually making that much progress in a short amount of time. They'll allow you to either add 3 points to your team, add 2 points to all teams at the same time, or remove 1 point from your opposing teams. So it's not only forward momentum, there's a little play on player psychology here. You're going to be indirectly working against other players. This is clearly going to take a while. So I wanted to know, did the last decade of updates drop enough new content, features, and things to do to keep you and your friends busy during each of these cooldowns? While the Swarm Expedition offers a fairly engaging step back into No Man's Sky, it's all too easy to bounce off the game in a matter of days. It can sometimes feel like too much of a sandbox without direction and lacking something very crucial: connectivity. This is not meant to be a shared progression party game. With ship interiors, 4-player groups, 32-player instances, and a whole bunch of content, it is primed to be a great party game. But the usual things you find yourself doing aren't exactly made for groups. For example, when we started, we were put on different planets from one another and couldn't connect until we could get our spaceships working. But the biggest tell besides that was that we were put on completely separate teams from one another and then couldn't change afterward to be on the same team. We ended up seeing different enemies and contributing to different teams from different instances wherever we went. It was clear to me quickly that this was a solo player game in a shared universe still. The kind of game where you can toggle off PvP, run into players at points of interest, and meet up with your friends, but you still would be focusing on your own unique story. But if you're not here strictly for the co-op experience, then there's an absolute ton to do during your cooldowns to add to that story. If there's one thing this game has done over the last 10 years of updates, it's create a branching network of endgame options. Salvage gameplay is an actual challenge, and something you can do all across the game to get more valuable currency. While it's the main use of the gravity gun right now, I also can see other puzzles and specifically zero-G gameplay start using this tool as well. But as a general farming mechanic, this does offer quite a bit to do in the meantime. The thing is, in order to get to this gameplay mechanic, you'll need to engage with several others. Crafting, base building, and research are all steps on the path to a successful salvaging enterprise. But if you didn't want to do that, it turns out you can also just own settlements now. There's a whole segment of this game dedicated to managing the happiness and safety of citizens in your various settlements across the galaxy. There's a light economy system and opportunities to make a lot of money. All of these paths through the game will have you continuously bouncing off the central space stations, which host various NPCs and stores that allow you to craft different items, research new things to build, and upgrade your gear and ships. There's a lot more to invest in than I remember, and an easy enough system of pinning recipes, finding resources as you explore your various systems, and checking in to craft stuff as you progress. With the ability to teleport between your various bases and space stations, you can actually keep exploring and adventuring without being too far away from a central location or a group. Speaking of exploration, I do think this is one of the best things to do that maybe gets boring quickly, but also pretty interesting in short bursts. And with how many different loops and professions exist in the game now, it's much nicer to take an hour every so often to discover a new planet or species, name it, learn a few new words from some alien language, and find some resources before heading back to the mission at hand. Aside from that, I've seen some masterful ship building in No Man's Sky. You know, if you prefer ships to bases. And with more ship parts being added with each update, it does seem to offer a tinker-friendly hobby to keep chipping away at in the game that I'm definitely not going to have my hand in. You don't want to see my custom-built ships. While the central story is still the central story in this game, find the center of the galaxy, the tasks, missions, and adventures you can take on that journey in between expeditions, and while you aren't building up your repertoire of new locations, is using more and more game mechanics every year. It's still a sandbox that needs you to find some self-incentives to get you going, and its multiplayer components are pretty underwhelming and limited. But there's enough game here to keep you busy in between your expedition bouts, and you know Hello Games is going to keep updating this for free with Light No Fire in development coming later. I would argue No Man's Sky is pretty solidly at the top of my list for check-in every year kind of games. Just like how I think many play Star Citizen, this game is worth revisiting for every update to see what's new. But the Swarm Expedition, and likely other updates going forward, do look like they're going to provide more reason to check into the game weekly or monthly, with more content to fill that space. If you enjoyed this look into No Man's Sky and like to see more of other space games, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't checked out No Man's Sky, now's a good time. It's available on Steam, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch if you're interested. Thank you for watching this until the end. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.